Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me for this acrylic painting tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be painting a, what is this, still life with a feather pen and some books. And yeah, I'll show you step by step how to do it from start to finish. I'm going to really enjoy this one, I think. Got my husband Mark with me.
Hey there, everybody.
He's been a chat during a live show. He's already laughing at me, so it's going to be a good one. Let's get started. Alrighty, so I have prepped my canvas here. I've got a 9 by 12 inch. I can hear your sound there. Yep. I've got a 9 by 12 inch canvas panel. This is Belgian linen from Fredrix, and I've just coated it. It comes white. I've coated it with a coat of a light gray. You can use whatever gray you happen to have. I can't remember, neutral gray, 7 in the golden line. That's what I use, but it's just kind of a warm gray. It doesn't really matter. We're going to be basically covering all of it, but we just kind of wanted to start with a base there. Give us a head start. Okay, I'm going to be using a number 12 Bright from Princeton. I've got a few different kind of scruffy brushes here that we can use for the background effect to kind of give it that kind of fuzzy look. So I'm not really sure what we're going to need. So I grabbed just a few different kinds of scruffy brushes. This one's a Scumbler. It's kind of a stiff bristled rounded tip. This one's a little bit softer, called a round blender, number 6. They're both basically almost the same size though. This is a 6, this is a 12, sorry. And then this is a 5/8 inch Deerfoot Stippler that I've used before. Those are all in their select line. For some of the book and feather details, we've got a number 4 Bristle fan and a 3/8 inch Filbert grainier. So we'll show how to kind of use those. If you don't have both of them or any of all of these brushes, that's fine. You can just use what you've got that's similar. I've also got a 1/4 inch and a 3/8 inch Willow's blenders. Now they're called blenders, I think. They changed the name. And then in the for some of the details, just kind of blocking in, we're going to use a 1/4 inch and 3/8 inch angle shader. And then I'm grabbing a number 3 round here for some of the details on the feather and such. I might need even a smaller one. Let me see. I'm going to grab a little number 1 round too. Yeah, so we'll have a couple smaller rounds for some of the smaller details in this pen area. That should get us through. And like I said, if you don't have all of these materials, there's a list down in the description for where you can buy them, or you can, whatever. It's got the colors also listed down there. So if I go through them too fast here, you can go down there and check it out. All right, color. Carbon black, burnt umber, burnt sienna, quinacridone burnt orange, yellow oxide, cadmium yellow medium. Not sure if we're going to need that, but I figured I'd have it out just in case. Cadmium red light, also maybe color. This one's a new color, new-ish. We've used it a couple of times before. It's called Quinacridone Red. This is Quinacridone Magenta. If you don't have Quinacridone Red, that's why I've got the cadmium red light out. We're going to probably be able to mix something similar, but Quinacridone Red is pretty much the color exactly spot on for this feather. So if you have it, use it. Ultramarine Blue, Phthalo Blue, green shade, Phthalo Turquoise, and Cobalt Teal. And then I've got Unbleached Titanium, Titanium White, and Zinc White. Zinc White is just a transparent white. And then this is Glazing Medium, just to help us with all of it. Let's draw it really quick, and I'm not going to go into a ton of detail drawing it. I will have the traceable available for you, but what you're going to want to do is get a T-square and down really low on your canvas, do a light line for where your horizon line, it's not horizon line, I'm trying to think. Anyhow, the line there, I can think right now. So here's the first book. I'm going fast today because this is going to take a while. The first book is going to be just past the midway mark here. And I'm marking kind of above that line back here. And that's going to be our first book right in here somewhere. And these are almost across from each other. This part's just a little bit down, I think, but you're going to make kind of a C line. It kind of straightens out here and then curves top and bottom here, and then do a slightly diagonal line this way. So it just comes out kind of right in here. Like that, and then this line above it is going to be mimicking it. It's going to be pretty similar. It's actually going to narrow a little bit right here because this book cover is old and it's kind of opened a little bit, so it's sagging right here. It's not exactly the same as this side. It's got a little bit, the binding's kind of coming loose or something. So it's coming up and then curving across like this. I love drawing these old books because you really can't mess it up. They're pretty easy to draw, and there we go. So we're going to do like that. So this line is not very sharp right here. It's pretty, we're looking at these books almost straight on, so there's not much of a dip right here, not much of an angle. That's about right, it looks like. And then there's going to be kind of the top part of the book binding. This is going to be the seam right there. And so this line goes back and is going to pretty much mimic this line here. So that angle and this angle, this angle and this angle should be the same. And then I'm going to widen out this a little bit. And then all of our book pages are going to go like this, and they're going to turn a little bit. They're going to follow this edge of this book here, or this part right there. They're going to turn a little bit as they come in right there, like that. Okay, and then right above it, almost just above this line, these two are kind of basically meeting up right here. And here's this one's a little bit bigger, so you're going to a little bit bigger space there. And the center of it is going to be kind of really right above that, and just a slight curve there. And then coming out right off this way, going over the top and not quite to the end of this, and then curving up. This and this curve on this one are kind of matching. And then our book is almost a straight line here. So this top line is really kind of level with eye level. So we're not seeing the top part of the book at all. We're just seeing this edge right here like that. Here, draw the inside of that line of the book there. The cover there, it's a little bit thicker than the pages. And then our book pages coming this way. And then we've got these spines here. These three markings. One, two, three, kind of like that. Maybe a little closer together, but you get the idea. This one's got two of them here. And then once we get this book on, obviously we would erase this horizon line there. Okay, so there's our books. And then our inkwell is going to be right above the horizon line again. Kind of start out right in here. Curve it down a little bit and then back up. This side is a little shorter than this side. Curve it. Line here and then line out here. Kind of like that. This comes down just a little bit here. There's a little bit of an angle right here. It's a little bit of a V shape. But this kind of rounded edge doesn't come all the way down to the horizon line, so it's a little bit higher than that there. And I may have made it a little bit small, but you're going to get the idea, hopefully. So this line and this line would kind of match, and then this line and this line back here is going to be kind of, again, it's going to be pretty, you're not seeing a whole lot of this top area because it's pretty shallow. This neck of it is off-centered, so it's going to be like right in here. It's not off-centered, it's just the way we're looking at it, but it looks off-centered because of the angle that we're looking at it. You're seeing more of this part of it. And there's just a little bit of that corner showing. And then the ink inside is right in here like this, and then we're seeing a little bit of it back there, and it's going all the way to the top of this. So there's the ink inside, and then there's a little bit of the nib shining right there, and then the angle of the nib inside. It should match up to that. Bring this over a little bit, so. And then the very top of it is going to have a slightly curved line. It's going to come outside the edge of the neck of that bottle a little bit on either side. And going to be curved here, and then the top part is just a little bit rounded. We're just seeing a little bit of a curve there. And then the top of this bottle is going to be down in here, so it's a little bit lower than the top edge there. Okay, looks like it's leaning a little bit. I think that's because the angle that we're looking at it there on the camera. But
are we in Pisa?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
No.
Wasn't sure.
Good.
All right, carry on.
And there's going to be all kinds of reflections and things that on this edge of the bottle. And then the tip of it is kind of really narrowed in. The glass is distorting the image, and I think it widens out too right here anyways, but it distorts the image and makes it a little bit bigger in the inside the bottle. There's a highlight along that middle part. It widens out a little bit, and then it's got a kind of a filigree cap here. It's really pretty. Kind of does all these little squiggly things. It's a little bit rounded there, and then the feather comes out there and a little bit smaller here. The center line is right up like this, somewhere in there, kind of really right in the middle actually of that line of the pen, so we may want to angle it just a little bit to this way so that that angle is out this way. And then the top of it's rounded, and then it just curves back in here, and it's got a few splits in it. And then this side is a little bit more narrow than this side. This side comes out a little bit farther. Okay, so there's your basic feather pen. Let's get to painting. Like I said, I've got the traceable. I'll have the traceable for you tomorrow, so if you want to paint along or start with it already traced out, you can do that. Don't have to draw it. All right, so I'm going to mix a fairly good amount of Ultramarine Blue and Burnt Umber here. A little bit more of the Ultramarine Blue than the Burnt Umber. Using a big brush here, so make a lot. I'm just going to squeeze out some titanium white next to it.
I want to say hi to everybody.
Yeah, hi guys.
Welcome.
We are glad to have you join us.
And we had I think our first person from Russia chicken.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, watching with us live from Russia?
Yeah, from
That's cool.
Sakhalin Island.
Neat.
Something like that. I'm sure I completely butchered it. It's an island in the Pacific coast in Russia.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Okay, let me see here. I need to get a palette knife and scrape this off my brush. I don't want to lose any of that paint by... I'm just going to go ahead and mix it with the palette knife. It'll be a little cleaner. There we go. So you can see it's just like kind of a light blue gray. Makes a really pretty gray with that burnt umber and ultramarine blue together. I'm going to leave a little bit of it a little bit darker. I'm going to scoop it up and just like have a big blob of it right here so that I don't have to worry about it drying out real quickly. Okay. I'm going to use the large brush and just kind of cover this large area back here with this. You can see it's a little bit different tone than that gray that was on there originally, but that's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. Get more white because I want this color to be a little bit lighter up at the top.
We have a varnish question.
Yes.
They would like to know, what kind of varnish do you use and how long should they wait to varnish a painting?
I use a liquitex varnish. I use a golden isolation coat first and then use the liquitex. It's called gloss medium and varnish. That's what I usually use. But I do have some golden varnish. I just haven't gone through I've already, kind of started in the bottle of the liquitex, so I haven't gotten to use the golden varnish yet. I have a ton of paintings that need to be varnished. I have them in boxes right now. It's like when I sell one, I have to pull it out and varnish it real quick. Mm-hmm. It's like, I need to be doing that like right after I finish them. That way they don't. But yes, I do that, and then you need to wait about a week or so. Really a couple of days is probably sufficient, but I like to wait, about a week or so just to make sure that that paint is fully cured before you varnish it. But it depends on how thick your paint is too. I'm using a little bit of the Unbleached Titanium too to warm up this gray a little bit over here. If your paint is really thick, then you may need a little bit longer than that to dry it. Maybe a couple of weeks or more. If you're using like a palette knife painting and doing it.
So inquiring minds want to know.
Right.
Why do you use an isolation coat?
Because what it does is it protects the paint from adhering to the varnish. So you could, in theory, just for conservation, whatever, if for some reason your painting ended up in a museum or something like that, and 100 years from now they needed to remove that varnish, and because it got stained or something like that, it would remove the varnish but not the paint underneath. So it just protects that paint and paint layer.
So
varnish is technically a removable coat. It's designed to be able to be removed with solvents. But the isolation coat is basically acrylic medium, so it's going to bind your paint and just give it an invisible clear layer, clear coat to be able to protect it. So
Interesting.
yes.
So when they're restoring your painting after it's been hanging in the Louvre for a while,
Yeah,
they can do it safely?
exactly.
Okay. And then we wanted to know, so they're saying that the isolation coat isn't necessary.
No,
It's just a extra step
right.
if you want to do that. Okay.
Right.
So if you don't think you're going to be a famous painter someday, then
If you don't, well, I mean, if
or somebody spills coffee on it.
yeah, if you don't, oh no, I mean, varnish is protect. It will protect it. It's more from like smoke, usually like those older paintings would be hanging in churches or things with homes with smoky lamps and things, and the smoke would color the varnish and affect the color. And so, well, you've seen paintings that have been restored that are like, whoa, we didn't realize that it was so bright. Some of these older paintings that have been hanging in churches or wherever for years and years. And they take them and get them restored. And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, those colors are vivid. Because they've, it's just like the environmental pollution and whatever has dulled the colors over time. All right, so just making a little bit of a darker blue section here. And I'm going to use that down in here. And I'm going around my painting, but really my drawing, but you could do your drawing afterwards. I just don't want to have to draw it after. Just wanted mine to be done. So I'm painting around it. All right, I'm going to grab my brush now. This is the Deerfoot Stippler. I'm going to get it. It's dry. And get it here, and I'm going to blend this wet paint into that wet paint that I just put down.
Okay, and they want to know if they have varnished a painting, can they paint over it?
Yes. Yes, you can.
Okay, they don't have to pay any fine or anything?
No, you can. Paint should stick. If it doesn't stick, you can add, some medium to your paint to help it adhere, but it should go right over the top of that, and then you can varnish it again.
And
I've done it before, and it's a...
And then I'm turning my mic down. Is the isolation coat a special paint?
No, it's just a clear coat that it's a product that Golden makes.
Okay.
I think you can use matte, or I wouldn't use matte medium. You could use like a clear gloss medium or something like that with some water mixed in. I think that's what they used to tell people until they came up with it. They came out with it last year, I think. So it's a fairly new product, but it works great. It really brings out the colors too. I liked it a lot. It was really pretty. Once you get it, varnished, it really brings out all the colors that are in the painting. Makes them more vivid. All right, so I'm just kind of swooping in here and creating these kind of smoky layers here. And if you get too much of the blue, you can add a little bit of that gray in there. My gray's starting to get a little bit sticky, so I need to just be careful not to mess with the gray once it's starting to dry. So I need to keep a wet layer of gray going so that I have time to blend this blue in.
We got a question about beginner paintings.
Mm-hmm.
The person would like to know, do you recommend for a beginner painter to start with painting on paper rather than canvases, or would it develop bad habits?
No, I mean, it's different. It's not necessarily bad habits. You don't need as much water on canvas as you do on paper. Paper will suck the moisture out of your paint, so you're going to need to be, using more water in your paint, but...
So paper sucks more. Okay.
So, I mean, paper can be a little bit harder to use in some respects, but It's also a lot cheaper, and so for a beginner who may be on a budget, it's kind of a nice alternative to not having to use up canvases. I use the panels are a little bit cheaper too than using like the bigger canvases, so those are an option to practice on also. The ones that I use here are kind of archival. These are kind of museum quality. The ones that you'll get in, multi-pack at your craft store are not going to be a great quality usually. They're going to be kind of a paper cardboard center. So you just got to know that, they're not going to be. But we had this discussion actually about paints and light fastness and stuff in my group this week because of the paints we used on Saturday. Were not, they're really good light fastness, but not great. They're not the best on light fastness. And so, you just got to kind of know what your end goal is with your paintings. If your goal is just to kind of have a surface to paint on and practice on, then you're not going to really be worried about archival, whatever. But once you get kind of going and you know what you're doing and you're giving these as gifts or you're selling them, I would definitely say I would up my game and start using more archival quality canvases and paints. So just my 2 cents there. Although you're even the light fastness that's just good is going to last you, up to 50 years. And if you're not having it in direct sunlight, probably longer. So, it's just whether your grandkids are going to be having your practice paintings and want them, for years and years to come, or not. Or if it's just practice, then, I've got a ton of paintings that I did when I was first learning that I didn't even think about. I did it on with craft paint and stuff, which is probably the least light fast paint there is, so they're not going to be, I didn't even think about that until recently, so. All right, so now I'm just going back in with a little bit of light paint here. I've got my dark layered down. You can see just laying down the dark color along this bottom edge here. Might go a little bit darker here because it kind of goes dark. Though in the picture, though, you kind of see that the corners are a little bit darker. So it may be okay. We'll let it dry. But I think this is pretty good. I'm just kind of letting it be. This brush is working for me, so I don't think I'm going to get out any of my other brushes and dirty any of those up. Save myself from having to wash them later.
Well, speak those words of wisdom.
What words of wisdom?
Let it be.
Let what be?
I don't know. You said you're going to let it be.
Oh, did I?
So then I said, speak those words of wisdom. Get the joke?
I do get the joke.
Okay, I had to explain it. Forget it.
Well, I didn't know I had said that.
It's
I don't listen to myself. I'm surprised you listen to That's new.
So one of the great things about this job is that I don't get in trouble for not listening to you.
This is like the only time in our marriage where
Exactly.
you have an excuse for not listening to me.
Yeah.
It's great.
Oh, I was paying attention to chat, honey. Sorry, I didn't hear what you just said. It doesn't work on the couch.
No, Mark wears headphones so that he doesn't have to participate in any of my discussion. Sometimes I'm halfway through a sentence and realize he can't hear anything I'm saying. He's just over there not even looking. He's just completely ignoring me. I'm like, okay.
I'm trying to be kind and watch my videos without interrupting your show.
I agree. You're very thoughtful that way.
And maybe ignoring you.
Let's be real. Okay, I'm going to get a little bit bigger angle brush here just for this bottom area here in this under my books. I like that background though. That was kind of fun, wasn't it? Pretty easy.
Oh, I had a blast.
I like it. Shut up. Oh my gosh, you're on a tear today. Mark hasn't been fed yet, so we'll
true.
try to get this through this fast for you, hon. All right. That's pretty good. I want a little bit warmer. Yellow oxide. I need to mix up a pretty good amount of this because it's that whole table bottom area there. Get some burnt umber and some of that burnt sienna. That's pretty good. Kind of a warm medium brown. And then I'm going to use the unbleached titanium to lighten it up in places. So those will be kind of our colors for our wood. I think that's pretty close. We'll do the background first. We'll just do kind of like the base color first, and then we'll be adding the darker on top. So this is not going to be our finished color. Let's just put it in kind of at an angle. The wood goes in kind of this way. And I'm going to use this color in here too, because these books have this color in there. I'm just going to use it for my paper too. It's got that yellow aged look.
Someone asked if the Princeton pointed Filberts are a newer brush.
I used one last year with the, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure how long they've been around. I don't know. I haven't used them enough to be comfortable with them yet. I don't know. I haven't used them a lot. They seem pretty cool, but I'm just not real super familiar with them. So.
And a general rule is to never ask a brush its age.
Okay. Is that so?
Yeah, it's in the art guidelines.
Goes for women
and brushes. Yeah.
brushes, both. Okay.
Kind of like a life hack.
I bet you if you went to their website and asked, they would have information about that. Got a little bit of, I'm going to try to get some of this blue while it's still wet. Went a little bit over the line right there, so I'm just going to clean that up. Okay. This is looking kind of yellow. I don't know if I wanted this yellow. Add a little bit more brown. Starting to dry. I need to leave that. Acrylics do not like to be messed with while they're drying, so just kind of keep that in mind. They're kind of like me in the morning. Before I've had my tea. You do not want to mess with them. Because they will lift off the canvas if you mess with them while they're in the middle of drying. They start to bond to whatever's around them. They're bonding to each other, but if you get in the middle of that, then they're going to bond to your brush and just pull right off the canvas. So just going to keep that in mind.
Somebody wants to know, could they use Payne's gray for the background?
Yeah, in fact, this color is pretty similar to Payne's gray. Instead of the black in Payne's gray, we're using brown with the Ultramarine Blue, so it's got a little bit warmer tone to it, but Payne's gray would work. Payne's gray is just ultramarine blue and black. So. Okay. That'll work. brown and just go ahead and kind of mark in my shadow there.
Yeah, the questions are just
Good.
pouring in tonight.
That's good.
So the first question is, why would you use unbleached titanium over titanium white?
Okay. Well, unbleached titanium has just got a little bit of a warmer tone to it. So it's already got that yellow that we're using. So that's why I used it here. It's almost the color of the highlight that we're doing on the wood. So actually that's way too dark. I don't know why I did that dark. Sorry. Just gonna blend that out a little bit. This one's fairly dark, but the rest of them are. Go ahead. And what was the other question?
Oh, sorry. The other question was, do you think that teaching has made you a better artist?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. You always learn more when you're having to teach it. You know, you gotta kind of learn it to a higher level standard. It seems like, you know, when you're teaching it. So that's why I don't teach watercolor, because I could dabble in it, but I don't know it enough to teach it, you know. I could teach it to kids, and I taught it to kids and stuff, but okay, I'm just painting over this. I don't know why I did that. So yeah, I definitely think so. I think I've definitely done different things that I wouldn't have done if I wasn't teaching. So I've done subjects and things that was asked to teach and wouldn't have painted them on my own. I wasn't an animal portrait painter. I didn't do animals really. Did butterflies and birds, but that's about it. That's about as far as I went into the animal realm. Nothing with fur, really. Until I started teaching on YouTube, and then I learned real quick how to do it. So, all right. So I'm pretty happy with that background. I think I'm just going to go ahead and start on my feather here. Such a pretty color, that Quinacridone Red. And this first layer, I'm just going to kind of fill in. There is a, oh shoot, I already painted over it, darn it.
Great.
I know.
Slow down.
Yeah, I need to slow down. Well, I'm trying to.
I know, but slow down.
All right. Yes, sir.
Wow, I got that on tape. Yes. That's going to be my ringtone.
Just pulling in from the outside in towards where I did it again. Gosh, darn it. Okay, so there's a long section right there that's the gray. There's another one right here. This color is transparent, so it's not going to cover all that well. You're going to have streaks and stuff, but that's normal. So just kind of know that going in. We're going to have, you know, several layers of color here. And right in here, there's a section that is got a split kind of in the middle of it. You know, I may just go back in and add that gray over the top. It may make it easier just to paint this. I'll have to work around these little gray areas. We'll see.
They would like to know, why do you prefer using heavy body paints?
Well, they're just the kind of gold standard in, you know, acrylic painting. The golden paints have the best, in my opinion, one of the best, you know, quality paints around. They are super high in light fastness, so they're very archival. They're going to last hundreds of years before they'll start to fade at all. And they're a little bit easier to manipulate, as far as there's a lot of techniques that you can do with them that you can't do with thinner paints. So you can paint, you can, if you wanted to, you could paint with the fluid acrylics and then mix in heavy gel medium to make this consistency with your paints. The fluid acrylics are the same saturation of color, so you're not going to lose any color by doing that. But I don't know. I like the feel of them, and when you they don't dry out it quite as fast as the fluid paints, so you have a little bit more dry working time with them, and you can always thin them out. So I kind of go the opposite way. I thin them out with the glazing medium instead of starting with fluid and thickening them up. I find it's easier just to thin them out from the thick paint. So I don't know if that answered it, but kind of long answer. I'm going to add a little bit of this with the glazing medium. It's picking up the color. Let's go ahead and grab the Unbleached Titanium. I'm going to use it over here. What were you going to say?
So, so heavy body paints are not just for palette knife paintings.
Right.
They can be used, you're using them right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they things like dry brushing and stuff are just easier with the thicker paints. So there's certain techniques that you just want to have a thicker paint to use.
And then somebody wants to know, what do you recommend if they don't have the Quin Red?
It's mainly I think you could start with the Quinacridone Magenta and just add a little bit of the Cadmium Red Light to it. And we can get a color that's similar. I'll try to mix it here in a second. This is Unbleached Titanium and our colors from down here from the wood. So I'm just starting that, basing it out. I'm going to use a little bit of this Quinacridone Burnt Orange on this one too. There's some orangey. Get some of that darker color. Burnt umber there. And we're definitely going to have to darken up to give this some dimension, because right now it looks pretty flat. I'm not worried about the shadows. I'm just kind of trying to get a color on here. But this will be a whole lot darker when we finish with it. Let's get some of that Unbleached Titanium. Add that right here. It's really kind of almost a green, so I'm going to get some of the Cobalt Teal and add some of that yellow oxide to it. Go. Okay, and then this here is the burgundy red, quinacridone, and I'm going to grab that brown, maybe a little bit of black. It's really dark. Quinacridone Magenta, a little bit of the Quinacridone Orange, some burnt umber. Yeah, that's good. I'm making this dark brown burgundy color. I'm setting it down, and then I'm always kind of looking at the direction that I'm seeing the grain, or if it's a flower, the petals, what direction they are. It just helps to paint it in that direction, and that way you've got a head start when you do your shadowing and stuff. You've already got some shadows in there. Already got some direction to your paint. This color comes in a little bit right there. Comes around. There we go. Straightening that bottom layer out there. Go. Okay, and this is going to be a good color to use for our shadow on this book. So get a little bit of that black. I'm just going to go right in there. That bottom edge. Wiping that off, and then I'm just going to pull up in through that wet paint, pull it up. Go. Gonna shadow around the side of these spines, so I kind of know where they're at, so don't lose them. Now we're gonna start looking like we've got some dimension here. Gonna use this dark color, shadow a little bit on the lip of this book, just a little bit. How you doing?
I'm creeping.
Yeah, Mark's staring at me. Used to do that when we were dating too. It was kind of creeped me out a little bit. Not gonna lie. I'd be talking and he'd just be sitting there staring at me. Not saying anything, just staring. Hello?
Still staring after 34.5 years.
I know. It's awesome.
It's kind of like the cartoons. You know, you're changing into different things.
What?
Remember the old, cartoons like Tweety Bird and stuff like that? Sylvester or someone stared at him. They turn into like a chicken, or something. It's like,
Oh my God. Okay. I don't want to know what you're thinking then. I don't want to know. Okay. I switched to the number 3 round. I grabbed some of that turquoise. If you don't have turquoise, you can use phthalo blue and phthalo green. Mix it kind of 50-50 to get this color. And I've added a little bit of black just to darken it up even more. I'm going to use this to outline our ink bottle. Thin line around the side, and then use it in the darkest area down here on the bottom of it. This whole section is pretty dark. Smoothing out that paint. I'm probably going to need a second coat on it, but
somebody in chat suggested that you could put the name of your favorite book on one of the bindings when you're done.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great idea. What's your favorite book, honey?
I was going to say, so my binding wouldn't have everything on it. My favorite book, well, there hasn't been very many books I've read in my life.
That you weren't forced to read in school?
I haven't read many books in my life.
Even the ones you were supposed to read in school?
Well, supposed to have read and read are two different things.
Okay. I see.
So,
Cashmere snoring.
The Old Man and the Sea.
Yeah.
I did read that one.
Nice. That's a good one.
For Whom the Bell Tolls, I read.
I don't remember much about that one. I think I did too.
And I read Blind Man's Bluff.
Yeah.
And Black Hawk Down.
Yeah. Those are the only ones you can remember reading in your entire life.
Well, I'm sure I read some Hardy Boys books because we had those growing up. I read, there was a series.
I'm just using the light. I added the Cobalt Teal here. So fascinated by Mark's lack of reading.
There was an author who writes, books for students, but they're for girls. It's like a series. Back in the 70s and 80s.
You read the book for girls?
Judy Blume?
Uh-huh.
Was that the series? I think I read some of those maybe.
To get pointers on how to pick up girls, or?
Yeah, that's it.
I'm just wondering why you were reading girl books.
Oh, somebody said Excel for Dummies. So yeah.
He did have French for Dummies for a while there.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. How to build a tank.
How to build a
Different chat.
I love it. Okay, so going even one more lighter shade here. Just
I got it. I read 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish.
you read to the boys a lot.
Yep.
You read all this Dr. Seuss books to them.
So there you go. I've read a bunch.
Getting some of that yellow. All of this yellow is coming from the reflection below on the table. The glass is going to pick up all the colors that are around it. So it's being influenced by this. Add some of this up here. I probably should have had you zoom in there, hun. Kind of far away.
Okay, let's do a dramatic reenactment.
Okay. I'm gonna grab some of the phthalo blue and add a little bit of the burnt. Yeah, because this is more blue than this turquoise color is just on the bottle, not on the ink as much. So I'm gonna fill in more blue here.
Pride and Prejudice, really? Who would read that?
Pride and Prejudice. You did read that?
No, I said, who would read that?
I made you read it.
Oh, that's right. I did, didn't you?
I made you read it.
So I'm definitely picking up some Monet vibes on this inkwell. I don't know why.
Monet.
Or some artist. I don't know. It's reminding me of something.
Good.
If they write a book on Oak Island, I might read that. Not.
No, you wouldn't. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's true.
Yeah, I've given up trying to think that I could make Mark enjoy reading. Just not going to happen. I thought maybe it was just the books he was reading, so I was trying to expand his.
I'm definitely not a fast reader, so that's part of the problem.
Just don't enjoy it because it takes too long.
And I get distracted. Well, I mean, I'll sit there and play video games for a few hours, so that's not really an excuse.
Right.
Somebody wants to know.
Okay, getting some black here now. Maybe a little bit of the brown with it. Yep.
What are the pros and cons of art school?
Art school? I think that it's always helpful to have knowledge you can learn, and then I can't remember the artist that said learn the rules so you know how to break them or whatever, So I always say, I didn't enjoy art school or like in college. I just didn't enjoy it. I dropped out of my painting class, if you can believe it, because I hated it. But I think it's because there was no instructive, I think that's why I enjoy teaching, because it's kind of almost like in reflexive, like this is how I wanted to be taught, I wanted to be taught techniques and stuff, and they were basically just like, here's some paint and some paper, go at it. They kind of just threw you out there and didn't really give you any instruction. And, I get the, there's a school of, I think thought on that you shouldn't tell people the right way of doing it, that they should discover it on their own, which I get, but it's also super frustrating to want to paint and not know what the heck you're doing, and just fumble around for months and waste paint and waste time and, just not, I ended up being self-taught because I was determined to do it. And so I just got books and things and learned out of books because my professors weren't going to teach it. So I don't know. It just depends on what you're trying to get out of it, I guess. And where you go and if they're actually, what they're teaching, if they're teaching a bunch of theory. I've never been a fan of theory. I don't like it. And, I like to just be taught the facts, tell me what to do and then I can do my own thing with it. Obviously, I'm very much like I feel like all art, no matter what age or experience level is valid, it's all an expression of ourselves. Only you can paint what you're painting, nobody else can jump in there and do it for you the same way that you're going to do it. Okay, some light colors here, now just adding in. So, I don't know. But I do think it's helpful to learn things like, drawing especially is the one thing that I did learn from. They did teach technique and type. Well, not technique so much as just, I guess they did they taught from a book called Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. And it had lots of really good, little practice things you could do to help you learn to draw. And I loved it. So I thought I was a decent drawer when I started college, but I realized pretty quick that I wasn't. Drawing's never been my strong suit or my favorite thing, though. I'm just not I much prefer painting. I can't do pottery worth anything.
So for me, I think you teach a lot of the general rules that people need to be successful in painting.
Right.
I would never discourage anybody from getting an education or going back to school and doing stuff like that. But I think you do a lot of that teaching here.
Yeah, I do. A lot of what you're going to hear in school we'll do during the lessons here. We don't get super into the theory like they will, we don't teach line and form and shape and all that. I mean, I do some, but not really like they'll do there. All right, this is Cobalt Teal here. I'm just going into this really dark area now and just adding these little bitty highlighted sections into our glass down there. So I don't know. I'm pretty. I'm an odd case. I didn't have the best experience learning to paint. Well, and part of it was that I wanted to learn to paint like Bob Ross, so they weren't going to teach that in art school.
What?
I know. And I was using acrylics trying to do oiled painting techniques, and it just wasn't working, so. Okay. To bring this lip up a little bit right here. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of outline this just slightly. Put that out a little bit too far right there. And I'm going over the top of the pen a little bit. There, it's okay. We'll fix it later. I'm going to start getting some of this Zinc White now too. And using the Zinc White to kind of fill in some of these areas in the bottle that are going over the top of the pen. And this, I don't know how it got so white on that side. It needs to come in. So I need to take it's kind of that yellowish color right here. And bring it in. Comes around the bottle right here. So let's get the titanium white. Do it there, and I'm going to get the black. A little bit of the brown. It's kind of a brownish tone to it. Starting out with kind of a gray there, and then I'm going to get the titanium white and go along that whole area with it. Blend it out a little bit on either side so it's brightest right in the middle. A little bit of it in the bottle.
So somebody said that this reminded them of Van Gogh, and I was like, yes, that's it, not Monet, Van Gogh. And then we watched a movie the other night.
We did.
What was it called? Because I don't have any.
At Eternity.
It was on Netflix.
Gate, maybe something. I'm not sure. At Eternity's Gate, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not.
Yep.
I don't know what I think about the new theories of him not having. Not that I want him to have committed suicide, but a lot of the new theory books and movies and things, put that out there that he was killed by somebody else and covered it up, which I don't get.
And the guy who played Monet, he was in those Batman movies, if I remember
Not
right.
Monet, honey. Van Gogh.
Van Gogh, golly. Play Van Gogh.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the evil dudes in one of the Batman movies.
Yeah, he
wasn't
was. Okay, doing white here. Just adding these little areas are really bright. I'm going to get some of the turquoise, add dark. There's just a few little areas that are real dark. I'm going to have to bring this out. So. Okay, let's add a little bit of white to that phthalo blue that was in the ink down here. I'm going to start adding it along here. Just inside, leaving a little bit of the dark edge. Just blend it in towards the middle a little bit right there. Maybe even a little bit more. And then along here, and get the darker, maybe a little bit of the turquoise, cobalt, teal. Add it. Kind of where you're blending it in right there. Same thing right here. There's a little bit of it around the pen where it's going into the water. Or the ink, I should say. Goes up a little bit in this corner right here, so it comes up a little right there. And then same thing here, it comes up a little bit in the corners and then comes out. Use this phthalo blue in this dark area over here. And I'm going to use a little bit of this color. So the bottle is this turquoise color, so you're kind of there is going to be some of that blue from the ink getting transferred up here into the reflections. So, but the main color of that bottle is
It does.
thanks. Okay, let's get some of the cobalt teal. I'm going to switch to a little bit smaller brush now. Wipe down my brushes that have been sitting here waiting to be cleaned. I'm going to use a little bit, half and half, the titanium white and the zinc white will give me a little bit more. A little bit of transparency to play with. And there's really kind of a little bit of yellow cast to this, all these white areas too, so I'm going to grab just a tiny bit of that yellow oxide to use. Just a little bit. Cobalt teal here. Some of that darker turquoise down here. Some of the zinc white and the titanium white here, and then it's just oh, honey, I'm totally off camera there.
I heard you move and put it in low.
Okay. Some zinc white here. It's transparent. I'm going to put it all through here. Do a little bit of the cobalt teal here. I'm going to go back in with that. Make it really bright right in here. Kind of mess up these areas that are open here, give it a little tint. the shadow a little bit. Kind of a triangle right here. Really dark.
So somebody would like to know, would you recommend a heavy body paint or liquid for a beginner?
I use the liquitex basics with my beginners classes usually, and that was an easy. It's in between. It's not fluid and it's not heavy body. It's kind of right in between. That's what I would start with. Something more fluid is easier to use. So okay. Just going back in here and adding some really bright little bits. They're really small, so I just have to be really careful because they want to kind of take over. Clean up. Get a little bit of unbleached titanium going right along that edge. Just softening that up a little bit. Right up in here. There's a little line there. A little bit in here. A little bit along there. So kind of a cobalt teal mixed with white in this area. Okay. Okay, and then what I want to do is just glaze back into that over the top of that. In some places. So I'm going to use this turquoise and some glazing medium. Grabbed a little bit of black too. Okay. Let's go through here. I'm going to get some of this gray from our background. Add my white, mostly white. Getting the kind of medium gray here and just kind of going over the top and blending it in. Grab that black. Just hitting up the dark, shadowy areas here. Lighter color there and put it in over here. What you doing?
Starting dinner prep.
Nice. Okay. Going back in with the bright white here. Go. It's just a little bit off, so it's not a straight line from here down. This highlight on in the bottle is a little bit farther over. And then we'll let that dry. Let's work on the book. What time is it? Wow, an hour and a half. Okay. Yeah, I kind of figured this one was going to be tricky to get done in a short amount of time. Okay, let's use the burnt umber, a little bit of black. And I've got the grainier, Filbert grainier here.
Somebody wants to know, do you have
What?
any tips or resources for teaching young children?
I wasn't supposed to be doing that. That's not what I meant to do.
That was just a test.
That was a test. I just had too much paint in there. What?
So I want to know if you have any tips or any resources for teaching young kids like kindergarten, first, second, third grade.
Preparation is the main thing. Do not put your supplies out until you're ready for them to actually use them, because they will touch anything on the table. So have everything really well organized and in like bins, and I usually put stuff in plastic baggies, and I would, whatever project it was I was doing, I would have separate stages like in preparation bags already set aside. So all I had to do when it was time for the next stage is to, open it up and put it out or whatever it is, Like I see these places, I saw an advertisement online of this place that's like, was like a free-for-all, and it was just like stuff all over the tables. And I'm like, no. Not if you're trying to do guided. Like if you're just doing an open play, then that's fine. But if you're trying to do guided, they'll get distracted if you have too many options out. So just have and also like color options too. So like if you're painting with kids, or even with adults, it's good as a teacher to kind of have your colors already picked out, and just have like 3 or 4 different color stories that they can go with. So, if they're using this color, then this is the color to go with it, kind of thing. And then that way you don't end up with muddy colors. So, because they won't know how to, mix colors for themselves. So don't just have all the paints out accessible to them. I usually was if you, I would have like little color card kind of things, and have sometimes, depending on the project, but I would make out little color card options and say, okay, you can have these 3 colors, you can have these 3 colors, you can have these 3 colors, and they pick which ones they want. And sometimes they'd pick something different. I was always, pretty accommodating to, changes, but at least I would have, kind of a starting. Most of the kids are not going to be like, I want to do something different. Most of them are going to be like, yeah, let's, do whatever. They just want to learn, or they just want to jump in and do it. There's always going to be some that are real opinionated and they want a certain way, and that's fine. I always going with just using the same brown, black color, and then just adding the lighter colors to it now. I'm going to go back in here, add some of the highlighted. Trying to get these streaks. You gotta have your paint watered down with this Filbert grainier. It doesn't work if it's not watered down, because you gotta have it separate, the bristles separate out. Okay. A very light touch. So that, and just have an example for them to look at, some sort. And I didn't do the whole thing. I would just do part of it, and then I would come around and help them. So I would just kind of show them how to start it, how to do the technique or whatever it was on that section, and then let them go, and then I would come around and help. I never finished a painting in class with them. You're not going to be able to teach and paint at the same time. So you just have to kind of do the next step, but they'll as long as they have the finished thing and see what they're aiming for, then they can do it without you having to have it completely done. I don't think I ever finished a painting while I was in class. You can't help and paint at the same time. It's just not possible. Okay. Going back in with another layer of this dark brown black. Here, now I've got my white in there too. Probably could have done the white first, but it doesn't hurt. We got all these layers. I'm just trying to mainly keep my direction the same on all these layers so that we get, yeah, good page. Go. That answer the question, okay?
I think so.
Good. Probably more than they wanted to know. I got some stories about kids. I'm telling you, I almost kicked out a kid that was paying for my classes once. Because he kept messing with everybody else's stuff. And his name was Damien, so that it was appropriately named. It's sadly. It's like, oh my gosh, I never had somebody that difficult. It was not fun.
Other than your husband?
Splattering everybody else's paintings, and if he got done earlier, just like paint. I did have one girl that painted her hand blue, just bored. She finished early, and so that's another thing. You got to have something else for them to do after they finish. I usually would have games or something, and they'd have to leave the table or leave their project and don't, take their paint away. Basically, don't leave I learned, been there, done that. You don't leave the wet paint out on somebody that's finished. They're going to find ways to use it that are probably not what you want. Okay, doing the dark here. Yeah. Kids are fun. But for the most part, I didn't have a whole lot of discipline problems because they wanted to be there. So they were there because they liked art, They weren't forced to be there. All right, just using this and kind of letting my lines skip around a little bit on these book details down here. Go. Going to do a little bit dark along this side. So let's do a little bit more of that dark underneath. I've got this black brown here. Just darkening it up even more. And this is where I think I'm going to switch to the scruffy brush here. I'm going to get some of the yellow and a little bit of the burnt sienna, yellow oxide, burnt sienna. Maybe a little bit of that unbleached titanium. I think I'm going to get just a tiny bit of that cadmium yellow medium too trying to find the right color. It's kind of like an orangey yellow. Okay. Somebody's phone just went off. It might have been mine. Okay. Let's go. It's a little bit too solid there. So I'm just going to tap that off a little bit. There we go. Get a little bit of that color and add some white to it here. Go along this top edge here. Tap a shadow. And do kind of like what we did on the bottom and just kind of pull that highlight down. Following that curve of the book. There we go. You doing all right, hon?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mark's just like in and out. Just cooking dinner. All right, let's get some Zinc White. I'm going to go along this book edge right inside. Skip over the area that's got the binding thing. Do a little highlight on that section. Sticking out. And I'm just going to kind of dry brush here with the Zinc White to kind of rough up that section there. I'm going to get some of this yellow and use the glazing medium. It's from the table. And use it as a reflection on the book here. It's a shiny cover, so it's reflecting that color back up a little bit. That burgundy. Get a little bit of the black. Come up underneath it. Pull up. Get some of that color and add some white to it. I'm going to use it right here. And go over the top of that Zinc White area a little bit. And we'll do it one more time. Maybe get a little bit of white this time. Just small taps. There we go. And then this book is not shiny, but it's got a little bit of highlights up here, so I'm going to get a little bit of this. Let's use the Unbleached Titanium for it. Okay, and then let's use some of the Unbleached Titanium in white. I'm going to make my little page that's sticking out here. Just wiggle it. There's a few of them. And then I'm going to shadow on the book. Let's get the little bit bigger angle brush here. I'm going to use the black and brown. Some glazing medium. And I'm going to wipe my brush clean and just get it on the tip of the brush. Just kind of run the tip through it. Find a clean spot to wipe it. Really should wait until that's dry, but really dark right there. There you go. Okay. Have a little bit of darkness at the bottom here too. And then you can shade underneath that page that's sticking out. I'm gonna shadow a little bit on that book right there. And then use this glazing. Oh, I didn't do the table. Shoot. Okay, let's use the fan brush. I'm just going to get a bunch of different colors here. I got a little bit of yellow, a little bit of the Unbleached Titanium, a little bit of the burnt umber, and I'm going to drag honestly, I think it's going to be easier just to do it this way. I'm going to do it this way. So I can do these long sweeping brush strokes. Probably best to do this before you do the rest of the details. Do your background and do this first, and then you can... I just forgot about it. I'm so excited about getting to the rest of it. Ooh, books. All right, I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail here. Obviously, it's wood, so I've done lots of wood grain before. Got lots of tutorials on that if you want to really get fancy with it and do it realistically. You just don't want it to like end abruptly. So if you have to go over the top of your book a little bit, you can, and then just make sure that it's dry and go back in with your paper towel and kind of clean up that border anywhere that you've kind of gone over that you don't want it to be. So I just lifted off that whole corner right there. Yeah, but you get the idea. Just kind of streaking. That's probably going to have to be good enough. Let's get some. Okay, we still have to do the feather. So it's always so hard for me to find paintings that are easy, you know, that I can do on Tuesday night. I just don't. I'm not good at. figuring out how long it's going to take me to do stuff. Okay, so putting in my shadow there. Putting in the shadow. This one's got a little bit of the turquoise running through the light. So I'm going to use that same brown, but I'm going to add turquoise to it for this shadow. I'm going to use it over here too. Okay. And I'm going to use the Quinacridone Magenta with this. Get the orange. If this is the Quinacridone Magenta with the Cadmium Red Light, and it'll make a red that's similar to this. So you can see how it's kind of that bright cherry red. Plus it'll be a little bit more opaque because cadmium red is opaque. So if you're having trouble with it covering, you can use a little bit of that. I'm going to use some brown, a little bit of black, make a dark. Really that color of this book is really close to what you're going to want for shadowing your feather. I'm going to go along that. Pull in from the outside. Okay. Should be really dark right here. And then get that lighter color. Kind of using all three of these reds together. Here, just using the cadmium to kind of make it a little bit more opaque. I'm going to go ahead and use this Teal here with some of the Zinc White. I'm going to add highlight to this side of the feather with the Zinc White. It's kind of not wanting to flow for me. It's starting to dry out. Just trying to get a few little indications of some individual feather motion. That way. Let's use a little bit of it on this side too.
You
What?
took my seat.
Cashmere's in his seat. She's helping me.
She running the show over here?
Yeah, she's running sound now.
He's just looking up at me, purring.
She's so happy. She's like, thank you for letting me have your seat, Daddy. You're so thoughtful. Appreciate it so much. Okay, I'm gonna noticing on here. I'm gonna glaze a little bit of the turquoise over the top of the pen that's in the bottle here. Just a little bit. Okay. I kind of lost all my little dark bits here, so I'm going to get that dark turquoise again, a little bit of black. Just right in here. Do some. And then my titanium white. Is that your signal to wrap it up?
No.
Okay. Getting the titanium white here. I'm going to just add a few little really bright little spots to my jar. Okay, I'm going to get a little bit of this yellow brown here. Some glazing medium. And I'm going to glaze. It's picking up the colors around it, so this pen, even though this part is silver, it's still kind of picking up that color. Just toning it a little bit. A little bit of that yellowish. Not too much, but bit of highlight right along the front edge of that book, right there where it comes around the corner. And really the whole thing here is kind of brownish. I'm going to get some of this burnt umber and some of the glaze. Just kind of glaze over this whole area with just that little bit at the top there undisturbed. It's just all kind of rough, this cover. Making it look old, modeling muddled. Let's add some of the yellow in here, peeking through where it's breaking through the binding, and this way you could add your words if you wanted to along the thing there. Let's add a little bit of yellow highlight right here. Looks good. Still looks like it's leaning for some reason. I think it's just the angle of the camera. Every time I look up there, it looks like the bottle's leaning over. But then I look down here, it doesn't look like that, so I guess it's all right. It's just optical illusion. Let me get some black here. I'm going to go underneath this table. Whoop. I can do it down here too.
I just want to remind everybody that the traceables will be available over there on patreon.com
Yeah.
/Angela Fine Art,
Yes.
$2 level.
Yes.
And also at the $5 level, but you also get access to a bonus YouTube, well, no, bonus video. And then the same thing on $10 level, you get all that, plus you also get access to the special Facebook group where she's doing even more still life paintings this month.
Yeah, we're doing one that's going to be 2 months long. We're that far through. We've got one more month, one more week left this month, so it's not happening this month. But we're pretty much finished with the background and we still have the I've been told these are apricots, not peaches, but I don't like apricots, so I'm calling them peaches. The plate and the fabric to do. So if you're interested in that, that's our $10 level on Patreon. And they, like Mark said, they have a Facebook group, and we do that lesson on Thursdays. So, all right, I'm going to glaze over the top with this. Getting a little bit of that zinc white. Quinacridone red, a little bit of titanium white. Gonna use it right along the center here. Let's start kind of medium and then we'll work up lighter, so I'm not going super light here at first. I'm going to add more white. And then go with just the titanium white here. All right. I'm going to get some of this gray that's our background gray. Add a little bit of white to it. I'm just going to use it to add some. Is Oak Island on tonight?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh. Now I really need to finish. Okay. there's like a shadow, looks like, just above all of those openings, just shadowing just above. Adding some shadows on this side. We're always wanting these to go in that same angle, so pick an angle and just stick with it. As it comes down here, it's going to shallow out a little bit, but and then as it comes up to the top part's kind of coming straight down almost. But on this side and this side, these are all going to be pretty equal. I got no place to work here. Okay, now give me some place to mix some colors. If I can get some of this fresh paint out from the middle here. There we go. Cashmere's just purring like nobody's business over there.
She's so
loud.
happy that she's just sitting here with me.
Is she in your chair fully?
Oh yeah. I've got about half of my eye down on the chair.
You're so much nicer to her than I am. I would have sat on her. I'm not kidding. Mark knows. She knows not to sit on Mom's chair. I just kind of squish her a little until she gets up. I don't really sit on her, but I pretend like I'm going to. She jumps
bigger than you. You are moving.
Exactly. Okay. So there's this highlight here. You can use the rake brush to kind of blend it in a little bit right there. There we go. This whole side is kind of just highlighted, so I'm just gonna add a little bit more light to this side and then use the wedge to kind of blend it in. Yeah, I could use the brick. We already did the highlights with this break brush, but kind of covered everything up when we put our shadows back in, so I'm just kind of doing it Back over here. It's adding a little bit of highlight texture to our feather. And getting a little bit of this shadow color. Adding the shadow here.
Starting to get some buffering.
Uh-oh.
I don't know why, because I got a good stream.
It's buffering on YouTube.
Off and on.
Okay. Gonna go right up the middle here with the red on the inside of that highlight. And then we use that white again. Okay, well I can mess with this for another hour, but I'll put Mark out of his misery here. Gonna get a little bit of that dark red. Not as dark as on this side, just a little bit dark. I'm gonna go on this side of that highlight with that darker red. All right, let me sign it and we'll be done. We went long on a Tuesday. I got some super chat.
We sure did. We had a super chat early on in the show,
Awesome.
and it was from Tomette, and she said, "Thanks for the free tutorials."
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you very, very much. We appreciate
Yeah.
it.
We really enjoy doing them, so I'm glad you were watching and today. Just noticed I went over the edge right here on my thing, so I'm just going to clean that up a little bit. And we'll be back on Saturday with another tutorial for you. I think we're going to be every Saturday and Tuesday, possibly 1 week in March, but my schedule is going to become, our March schedule should be coming out this week, so for sure by Friday we'll have it out. You can check that out if you want to see what we're going to be painting next month. And my people that have my newsletter already know because they get kind of advanced behind the scenes stuff. So if you want to join my newsletter, I have on my website, it's thankfulart.com. And I send it out weekly, just let you know what we're going to be painting. So, all right, thanks for watching today. Phew, that was a long one, but it was worth it, I think. Turned out really cool. We'll see you guys on Saturday. Thanks for watching. Bye.